All right. Well, welcome to the show, Dustin.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you on the podcast. So thanks for coming in.
Happy to be here.
Coming into the studio. Not everyone wants to make a trip downtown.
That's okay. So, I mean, we've seen downtown. It's a bit of a mess right now. It took me a long time to find parking. I thought I was going to wait, but made it okay.
Well, if you've ridden a bike, you'd have been just fine.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah, cool. Well, welcome to the show. So, for those of our listeners who don't know, the company is called Local Laundry that you're with. And how long have you guys been doing it?
So we founded Local Laundry in 2015, officially incorporated 2016 when we officially took things off the ground. So it's been...
Oh, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
9 years, almost 10 years.
Yeah.
That's cool. And what's the general concept? So basic idea.
Local Laundry started in 2016, and the premise behind it was really on how to create something that allowed us to proudly represent local. We were seeing some trends in the market. There was local farm-to-table food. There was local craft beer. There was sort of this movement to support local artisans, local makers. And at the time, Calgary didn't have a local clothing company that allowed Calgarians to really proudly represent where they're from. Now, this was back in 2015, and if you're from Calgary, in 2015 wasn't the easiest time, right? There was a lot of layoffs. Oil and gas sector was down. Calgary was sort of uncertain about its future. There was talk of Calgary being the next Detroit. And so I think a lot of people wanted to really proudly showcase that they're Calgarian and really band together and show that they're proud of this city and show their support for the city. And so we came in really at an opportune time. And our very first product that really took off was the YYC, right? That iconic.
Oh, yeah.
We have that trademark now. That was really the big kind of thing that took off. And since then, we've just grown and adapted, and we've always been a little bit more ambitious, this just being a small local clothing company. And so we've kind of grown and adapted since then. But now, we make everything is responsibly made here in Canada. We have 5 pillars of building community, and that's really the premise behind the brand is that we don't just sell shirts, we build community. And we've done that in a number of different ways. A big part of that is we want to donate $1 million to local charities by 2030. We're almost 20% of the way there. We just surpassed $200,000 last year. We have a giving garments program, so for every pair of socks, toque, blanket that we sell, we donate one to shelters. We've donated over 10,000 items to shelters all across Canada throughout the course of the brand. So it's really about trying to not only create a brand that allows Calgarians to proudly represent where they're from, but we've expanded now to really being about the Calgary lifestyle, which is one of, wanting something that's a little bit higher quality. It is local. We're supporting something that's responsible, and we're progressive, and we like to give back. And not in a way that's in your face, kind of flashy. It is a little bit more of a, just to showcase that, here I am. I'm someone that's a little bit more creative, entrepreneurial, want to do good, want to give back, and want to make a difference.
So do you source all of your child labor locally?
No child labor. Can proudly say that. Well, I shouldn't say officially. I have 2 young kids, and when they're sick, they come into the warehouse. So I won't say that we're completely child free, but they're super proud. Every time they see something on the street, they go, "Dad, there's your shirt. Someone's wearing your brand." So that's really cool. Awesome. But we're proud to be made in Canada. There's not a lot of it. In fact, prior to 1989, over 75% of all clothing bought and sold in Canada was actually made in Canada.
Wow, really?
When Canada
opened
up.
So what year was that?
Prior to 1989.
89. Really?
And then you fast forward to 2020, I believe was the last stat. It's less than 5%.
Wow.
So you imagine the billions of dollars of industry of clothing over those years was just completely decimated. And so Canada does not have many manufacturers left when it comes to clothing. It's still a very small industry, but we're really proud to still support that industry and support.
It's interesting when you look at statistics and you like to say, well, we went from, what was it, 75 to 5%. But what's interesting is if you look at the raw numbers, it's probably like really skewed because the amount of clothing people buy today versus in 1975 has got to be
way more.
Yeah, exponentially larger. So
and a lot of that comes down to it being cheaper and more accessible. Yeah. Right. When it was made in Canada, it was quality. It would have been a little bit more pricey.
But all it was Hudson Bay blankets. That's all that was available then.
You'd be surprised. So one of our manufacturer, he's 3rd generation.
Yeah.
His father and his father started the company, and it was one of the largest jean manufacturers in North America, based out of Edmonton.
Who was it? What was it?
I can't remember their name back then. They have a different name now. But family-run business. And
really?
So there are these deep ties to industry that we wouldn't know because all we know is that we go to the mall and we buy a pair of jeans, and it's pretty faceless. We don't know anything behind the scenes. We see the tags of, it's better cotton initiative, so it must be good. But there's still a lot that happens behind the scenes that, as a consumer, we're unaware of. And that's not just clothing, that's any industry. But the more that we started to learn about the industry, and when we first started, we weren't made in Canada. We were just, hey, give us a sweater, we'll put our logo on it, great. Started to learn a little bit more about the industry. We were completely new to it. Started to learn a little bit more about supply chain and manufacturing and quite frankly, how bad the clothing industry is for people, for the planet, the toxic dyes for the workers. And that's when we kind of decided to make a change. It's like, listen, our name is Local Laundry. We really should be made locally here in Canada. And if our mission is to build community and to do better and to give back, that should go from every thread of our company, which includes how we manufacture our clothing.